allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Director McLaren,
Here.
Director Hernandez,
Here.
Director Calandri,
Here.
Director Martin,
Here.
Director Paris,
Here.
Angel Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Arden Wells,
Here.
Craig Parton,
Here.
and Cameron Goodman,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. We're on item 4, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Motion made by Kathy,
Second.
second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor of the motion to adopt the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Public comments for non-agenda items. Going once? Going twice. Holly, anybody else? Gone. Number 6, consent agenda. That's going to be items A, financial report. B, payment of bills. C, minutes of March 25th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Angelica, second by Carolina. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Item 7, advisory committee report, and I think Dan is doing that, right? Dan, are you on?
I am on. Good morning, Chair Paris.
Good morning, sir.
As we typically report out on the advisory committee, the discussion and the agenda is adequately set forth in our summary. I will note that we had what I would say to be a rigorous and constructive conversation and discussion concerning many of the agenda items set forth in the board's agenda that you're evaluating today. If you have any questions about specific items, go ahead and put them to me now, and I'll make an effort to answer them. Otherwise, I will go ahead and conclude my report. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you very much, Dan. Minutes are excellent, as usual. That brings us to item 8, annual financial report for years ending December 31st, 25 and 24. And I think, Angel,
Thank you, Rob.
get over.
Yep. Today, we're asking the board to consider and possibly take action on accepting and filing the Antelope Valley Watermaster annual financial report for the years ending December 31st, 2025 and 24. The annual financial report starts on page 31 of your agenda packet. And today we have Jonathan Abadesco with CJ Brown and Company to give a presentation on that report.
Morning, everybody. Watermaster board members, Watermaster management and team members, and any public members in attendance. I'm here to present Watermaster's financial statements for December 31st, 25. So the professional guidance we follow, we abide by the auditing standards issued by AICPA. And in the future, if Watermaster received any federal or state grants, we will abide by the guidance issued by the White House for federal grants, and state requirements, we will abide by the agreement between the Watermaster and the grantor. So accounting principles, we follow the statements issued by GASB, or Governmental Accounting Standards Board. So on page 1 of your report, we have issued an unmodified opinion or clean opinion that the Watermaster statements is in accordance with U.S. accepted accounting principles. Also, believe in your board packet, you have a management report. So the management report just details that after we perform our annual risk assessment of Watermaster's controls, we have noted that there's no material weakness or fraud or any significant deficiencies or non-compliance with laws and regulations. And I just would like to commend Mr. Calandri for giving me the time when I spoke to him earlier this year regarding a potential fraud, and he corroborated our assertion that that there's no issues with Watermaster's books. So this is your balance sheet or net position statements. As you can see, between 25 and 24, the equity or net position of Watermaster is pretty much consistent with the prior year. There's a decrease of about $19,000, which I'll explain on the next slide. So this page shows you the statements of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So reason for the change in net position of $19,000 was due to the fact that your revenues exceeded your total expenses by $19,000 during the year. Your total revenues went down by $165,000, which can be attributed to a decrease in your replacement water assessments by $247,000 and was offset by an increase in other income of $70,000 as a result of settlement payments. Your expense, it went down by $48,000, which can be attributed to a decrease in your replacement water assessment. So this is a summary of my presentation. So Watermaster received an unmodified or clean opinion. Net position increased by $20,000 or close to $20,000. Revenue and expense decreased by $165,000 and $48,000. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Any questions, board?
My question was just you referenced a conversation with Director Calandri. Could you elaborate I know that you didn't speak to all of us, so can you, we weren't aware that there was.
So this is just, a standard procedure required by auditing standards that we are required every year to speak to management and one of the board members about, some standard fraud questions. Like, for example, are you aware of any fraud or any fraud suspicions affecting Watermaster? Any non-compliance with the board? And also, how could you rate the transparency of management with the board every month?
Well, thank you, Brandon. We thank him too.
Brandon drew the short straw.
Any other questions?
No, thank you very much for the presentation. Any questions from the public? Any questions online? And Teresa, as always, thank you very much for all you do to make this happen for us. Thank you. And Angel, are you contemplating action today?
Yes, please. So staff recommends that the board accept and file the Antelope Valley Watermaster Annual Financial Report for the years ending December 31st, 2025 and 2024.
Great. And You can sit down and watch the action we take. And thank you very much for the presentation
Today.
We appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
I move to approve.
Kathy moves to approve accepting and filing the Antelope Valley Watermaster Annual Financial Report for the years ended December 31st, 2025 and 24. Is there a second? Second by Angelica. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Any discussion online? None. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's passed unanimously. Brings us to item 9. Now you can breathe a sigh of relief, Teresa.
Okay. Okay, so this is the budget versus actual report for the first quarter of 2026. And just as a reminder, when we look at the budget, we don't look at replacement water assessments as those are only used to purchase replacement water. So the top half of the report is the revenues and the bottom half are the expenses. The first column is the 2026 budget amounts. The second column is the year-to-date actual amounts through March 31st. And then the third column is the percentage of actuals to the budget. So if revenues were invoiced and expenses were paid evenly throughout the year, we would expect the percentage to be at 25%. So for the revenues, the application and transfer fees at the top, these are received and then paid to the engineer and administrator. These fees are really just passed through. Through March 31st, 27.6 thousand has been collected in application and transfer fees, which is about 48% of the total budgeted amount. Then there's the revenue from administrative assessments. And the only administrative assessments invoiced through March 31st were the fixed administrative assessments of just over 682,000. And of that amount, 93% has been collected at March 31st. The imported water return flows and variable administrative assessments will be invoiced May 1st. And then under other revenues and reimbursements, the USGS program cost sharing amounts, those have been invoiced and received from AV State Water Contractors and AV Irwin at March 31st. So total actual year-to-date revenue of $767,000 is 75% of the total budgeted amount for the year. Since most of that invoice happens in the first quarter, most of that revenue is invoiced in the first quarter. For expenses. So administrative services are on track at almost $30,000 for the first quarter, or 23% of the budgeted amount. Legal services at $91.5 thousand, or 31% of the budgeted amount. And half of that is for litigation and enforcement issues. And then the Watermaster engineering services is only at 9%, but this doesn't include the March invoices. USGS contract, we haven't received that first quarter invoice, but it'll be just over 19,000, and they bill quarterly. So, well, their invoices are quarterly, so that would be 25% when we receive it. And then for the remaining administrative expenses, they're in line with the budget and what we usually see this time of year. Most of those percentages are higher than 25%, but that's just due to timing and when those expenses occur. The only one that's different is the accounting software or the QuickBooks. We switched that to an annual subscription instead of monthly to save a little bit of money. And so that's the full amount for the year, the $1,242. So everything's on track with the budget, and we'll look at it again after the second quarter. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Teresa?
No.
Great. Very clear. Excellent job.
Okay.
And does that complete item 9, Teresa?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 10 on our agenda, consideration possible action on production right relinquishment for Melania 7 LLC. And that's going to be our general counsel.
Yes, we got a request from Milana LLC 7 to relinquish their production right. They have submitted documentation to the Watermaster that they no longer produce groundwater from their well. It's been decommissioned and they're connected to the Rosamond Community Services District domestic water supply. So they requested that the Watermaster approve their relinquishment of 21.70 acre feet a year for their position as a non-stipulating party to the judgment. We think it's appropriate to do it. The request ought to be accepted, and there's a resolution that reflects that on page 73 of your packet. There's a memo on these, the nature of the relinquishment on page 71. And we're asking the board to approve and accept the relinquishment of the production right of Milana 7. And as we recommend the approval of the resolution on page 73. Any questions?
This is the first time we've had this come up
Yes.
in, so it's first impression, and you're fine with what we're doing,
I recommend it.
and you're recommending. Any questions?
No questions, Chair, but I have a comment. I appreciate you looking into this, Craig, and providing guidance to the board. And I do want to say that that we might, even though this is the first, we might, as a board, have to see these moving forward. The state is looking to and guiding for consolidation of small water systems. And so particularly with, public utilities, they're looking and asking that where feasible that consolidation could take place. And, one by one, it may not be hugely impactful, but certainly as a whole, it begins to become impactful. So I encourage the board to, the state board, to be clear, to reach out and to Watermasters for consideration of this kinds of actions and the impact it might have to various basins. So thank you. I see that there's a note here from the advisory committee that it was shared that the state has agreed to cover associated costs associated with water rights. And I encourage that kind of conversation to continue.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Public discussion? Is there a motion to approve resolution R 2619?
So moved.
Motion by Carolina, second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2619, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Brings us to item 11. Consideration and possible action to accept and file the replacement water plan submitted by AV State Water Contractors, which satisfies the Watermaster replacement water responsibility for replacement water assessments collected as of March 4th, 2026. And Angel?
Yes, thank you, Rob. Just a little background, the Watermaster and the Antelope Valley State Water Contractor Association entered into agreement on October 23rd, 2019 for the purpose of recharging the groundwater basin with imported water. Per the terms of the agreement, staff sent a letter to the association. To the association requesting that replacement water. The association has since provided staff with the replacement water plan. The Watermaster engineer has reviewed this plan, and upon approval of this plan, the Watermaster will submit payment to the association And then the water master engineer will deduct the water from the association's membering agencies requested in the plan. And on this next slide, here's a map that just shows you where the replacement water took place. Oops. And then on this slide, it shows you how that replacement water request was broke down per agency. As you can see, AVEC has the bulk of the replacement water, and they have chosen to deduct it from 4 different recharge sites. And then Palmdale Water District has about 14.1 acre foot, and that would be the Little Rock Creek recharge site. Little Rock Creek Irrigation District had no replacement water within their boundaries this time, so they will not provide any replacement water to the water master. The total amount of water requested was 550.19 acre feet, and that will cost the water master $327,697.25. Upon approval of this, like I said, the water master will send a check to the association. And with that, staff recommends approving this plan.
Questions? Just a quick question. We've been reimbursed for all this already, or we have billed all this, is that?
Yeah, so how it works for staff is we collect replacement water assessments, and then next time we send a request to the association, we figure out what replacement water we have collected on, and that's how we establish our request.
So it's just a
yes.
pass-through?
Yep,
basically.
exactly.
Okay. Because Teresa wouldn't want to spend the money we didn't have, right?
No, we've collected.
Yeah. Okay. So all you need is a motion to accept the replacement water plan.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion made by Kathy, second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve the replacement water plan submitted by the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors Association per agreement dated October 23rd, 2019. Say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion's carried unanimously. We're on item 12. Consideration possible action to approve carryover storage agreement recovery application template. And that is going to be our general counsel and our engineer. Go
Yes.
ahead, Craig.
Thank you. This is item number 12 on your agenda. And I want to give some background and chronology to where we have been and where we sit now. First, there's a memo that my firm did with respect to the carryover template agreement at page 91, actually. And that is an important short discussion of what we've done in the past to get to this point. We, as you recall, had a number of differences amongst the board on issues related to the carryover storage agreement, and came to, I think I can say, agreement on at least 6 to 7 issues as of the March board meeting. We were then scheduled to discuss the agreement at the April board meeting. We got comments from at least a couple of people. Matt presented some position with respect to AVEC, and Stan Powell had some comments on the template agreement that we incorporated and put into this agenda packet. We've reviewed all the edits and suggested changes up to April 6th and presented and prepared the memo on page 91. So that was our best effort. That red line template that begins at page 93, that was our best effort to incorporate all the changes that were suggested at that time. though the red line is part of your packet, a clean version follows that, beginning at page 100. Public comments at page 105, and I want to come back to that as particularly important to note. There is some draft forms and applications that Arden will talk about, and fee schedules. And then there is a setting of a date for a public hearing. The idea at that point as of April 6th, was that we would have a public hearing in May, if the board wanted to move in that direction. And we still may, well, it depends on where the discussion goes today with respect to the agreement. So April 6th, we completed the template, the red line and the clean version. On April 9th, I received an email communication from council for, I believe, for District 40, Eric Garner, who attached a 4-page letter that is in your packet that you want to take particular note of, and that showed that it was copied to the advisory committee. I unfortunately did not route it to the advisory committee until I sent it to Angela the day before the meeting. I had assumed that it was already in their hands, and it was not. So they had little time to comment on it, and I think may have additional comments during this session, and looking for more time to consider the comments and suggested changes that District 40 is putting forward in the letter at pages 105 to 108. There is, let me back up a little bit. There is several things that letter suggests could be improved about the template, and some edits that they would like to see made. We can talk, and I want to have a robust discussion. There may be some answers, solutions to the concerns that they raise, that we can talk about here. If we can't get to a point of approval today, I think we will suggest that we keep the May public meeting on calendar to get public comments and input on the template, and to keep some kind of reasonable schedule so that we can move towards approval of an agreement as soon as possible. So the focus is really on what is being asked for in the letter at pages 105 to 108. There is a new recital that is suggested, and an excising request to mark up or out the current recital A in the template agreement. And a lot of this seems to revolve around the judgment's statement at 18.5.14 that storage agreements shall be subject to uniform applicable rules and requirements. And what does that mean? And there's differing interpretations of that. And I just want us to think in terms of, is there a way to deal with these concerns in an appropriate manner by either excising language or adding language, or leave it as it is? There's 3 options. But I would suggest the discussion revolve around that letter and the request it makes for editing to the red line version that my office and Cameron particularly did, that's in your packet at page 93 and following. I think that's the background enough to have the discussion begin here. I think it's important that we hear from the board about direction that they want to give council, if any. I assume there is, and have that discussion and input from the public. So that's my introduction to the topic. Only introduction. That's
Your brief introduction.
you brief. Yeah. Yes.
Craig, it's been a while since I read 18, section 18. It doesn't specify carryover storage agreements. It just says storage agreements.
Storage agreements.
It doesn't use carryover, the word carryover in it.
Does 18.5,
I just wanted to verify that because for some reason I thought it said carryover, but I couldn't be certain.
eighteen point 5.14. Storage agreements. The Watermaster shall adopt uniformly applicable rules for storage agreements.
Okay, I thought there was a mention of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Council, I have a question.
Go ahead, Danny. Ellie.
You mentioned that there could be different interpretations. What is your interpretation?
I think the issue seems to be, do we need to have a one-size-fit-all template agreement? Or should we leave the language as is? The language as it's stated in the template now suggests very strongly that there is to be uniform applicable requirements for storage agreements. And it paints with a pretty broad brush, like all agreements are to be covered by the same template language. District 40 makes the argument, and this has got some reasonable aspects of it, that there are different types of storage agreements that have different requirements, and that the judgment would require us, or the rules and regs would require us to acknowledge that. So my interpretation is, I'm interested at this point to have uniform rules apply to carryover water that's being brought to a storage agreement. That's what is in front of us now. That's the template that's in front of us now. I am seeing more and more problems with suggesting that there's an interpretation that ought to be put into this agreement. I think we're overcomplicating it by saying there's an interpretation that shall hold for all storage agreements, and it should be one size fits all.
Well, how does that play into imported water in your interpretation though?
Well, imported water has a different
Category, right?
category situation to it.
Okay.
So I mean, we're getting to the heart of it very quickly. I think an answer to this is to leave out the interpretive language in recital A that's in the packet. And leave these issues about whether different agreements have different requirements or not. We're going to be able to argue, anyone can argue the judgment when it comes up before the board. A different storage agreement can say it's to have the same rules applicable to it that were applicable to the carryover water coming into storage that we voted on in May of 2026.
Yeah.
Preserve those rights to argue that by taking out a couple of sentences from recital A. That would be, I think, one way of approaching it that starts to look at the real issue of having uniform rules apply to certainly this classification of storage agreements, of carryover water going into storage.
So that would be your recommendation.
I'd like to have further discussion from the board, but if we can't get to agreement on a storage agreement because we're stuck on what does it mean to have uniform applicable rules? Well, we are going to say in this template that it meets the requirements of 18.4.14. Leave it at that. That would give either side an opportunity to argue or to oppose it on the board vote. That's always the protection that a board member has who is uncomfortable about language in an agreement and how it might affect a future agreement coming before this board. One person can stomp down the entire agreement. And I've been looking at, are there ways to get to approval of an agreement that is acceptable in its language to maybe doesn't go far enough for some people, it goes too far for others. Is there a way to irritate both sides? Such, I have a feeling I've done that.
Speaking like a true mediator there, Craig. Okay, let's have some discussion and let's see where we can get to.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion on, yeah, let's start with public on this. Public discussion? Rami? Good morning, Rami.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hear you very well.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Rami Gindi, I'm with LA County Waterworks Districts. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide additional public comments on the storage agreements. I think Greg did a great job summarizing where we've been and where we're heading. One of the issues that were brought up in the last Watermaster board meeting was related to timing. And the fact that comments will be getting more comments and we'll continue to go through this iterative process. And our hope and what we based our comments on was something that came up during that meeting where we thought April 8th was kind of the right timing for us to get that comment letter out to provide enough sufficient time for a Watermaster staff to look at it, opine, and make whatever considerations that they have with regards to the template. We completely understand that's a very tight deadline to go from the 8th and then get all the comments addressed or considered prior to the advisory committee meeting. So again, I appreciate everything that council has been doing. Our comment letter was really intended to be clarifying and being consistent with the rules and regulations. And that's kind of the intent. It wasn't our intent to continue to drag comments out and drag the timing of this execution of the template. But also, we kind of highlight that in the comment letter that time is of the essence at this point. We wanted to really kind of move forward One of the issues that Craig brought up and was also a concern from the advisory committee was that last paragraph in our comment letter on page 2 of the comment letter, which is the interpretation of the 18514, which is uniformly applicable rules. I can speak on it, but chances are our counsel, Wendy Wang, who's present, can do a much more eloquent job of delivering on that. I think we're on the same page with Craig, but I'll let her kind of take the lead in that discussion.
Thank you, Rami. And Wendy, you want to come forward to the podium? Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak about this very important issue. I'm here today because we noticed in the advisory committee report, there was a request for council to provide comment as to the interpretation of section 18.5.14. And I just want to reiterate, we're actually really close with Watermaster's Council representative. We do believe that there should be a uniform set of rules and agreement for all carryover water. Our suggestion or that sentence, which I was pointed out in the advisory committee report, and I read, quote, for example, all storage agreements concerning imported water should be subject to the same rules, while all storage agreements for carryover water converted to stored water pursuant to paragraph 15 should be subject to a different set of uniform rules. There may be some concerns about our usage of the terminology different. It's not to suggest we're suggesting different carryover storage agreement. It's really what we're saying there is that there's different factual circumstances concerning banking water, and those differences are already set forth in the rules and regulations. And our comments really meant to address that recital A should really be trimmed down and simplified without going into nitty-gritty of all the differences, because the recital A may not capture everything. But just to point out that this particular storage agreement dealing with carryover water is not meant to maybe phrased slightly differently from existing banking storage agreement. And that's all we intend by it. We're not suggesting that there should be different set of rules for a different set of carryover water. That's not our intent. I just want to make that clear on the record.
Great. Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, I had
Question?
another comment.
Yeah.
Wendy, there was something else in the district's letter, and I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit, and that has to do with just the concern about getting to a point where we have agreement as a board, and then also allowing for the water master engineer and this board to approve these agreements. And so can you speak to that and specifically the letter issued?
Yes, on the letter, if you look at the third page, at the bottom of third page, going on to the fourth page, we propose additional language in section 3 of the storage agreement that the sentence, it's a rather long sentence, but I'll skip to the part where we propose additional language that basically allow the water master all the time it needs to complete its material injury analysis. And to the extent that the water master engineer, for whatever reason, outside of his control, cannot finalize that analysis before the end of 2026, for applications that are received before a certain period, we put down October 31st. We just clarify that it will not result in a loss of carryover water simply because the material injury analysis may take a longer period than initially anticipated to be completed. Because we feel like that is really not necessarily the fault of the applicant, and the physical solution is very clear that we don't want parties to lose out on their water rights while material injury analysis is pending. We're not hoping that there won't be any delay in that analysis, but just in case there is, we want to make sure parties' water rights are protected.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other?
You know, Wendy, I'm sorry, I have a quick.
Come on back up.
question for you. Sorry to do that to you. I agree that there shouldn't be a forfeiture if there's a reason administratively that we cross that timeline. What would District 40's opinion be of an extension if we had to ask for one, given I fully anticipate us being able to get something done within the timeline. That's the goal. Make no mistake about that. But if there's a request for an extension and we just flat run out of time, with District 40 be supportive of an extension request to Judge Comar, whether it be a month or two, or whatever we felt we needed?
That would be amendment to a judgment. And I think I'll defer to Craig as to all of the procedural rules involved in that. Because it's amendment of the judgment, that could be procedurally very difficult to achieve, because the judgment does require a storage agreement to be entered within 10 years. And so procedurally, it would be the most fastest route, in my opinion, to adopt a storage agreement. And if it's merely a issue with the application process, language similar to what we're suggesting should give the Watermaster engineer sufficient time to complete its analysis without forfeiture.
And if there's litigation or opposition to the agreement, which causes us to cross that time, that presents another issue as well.
I think, first of all, that issue isn't before the board, so I don't want to speculate too much. I think the board gets to make a decision as to whether or not you want to adopt the template agreement at some point. And I'll again defer to Craig. I don't want to supplant his opinion on this, but we're still within time. If a litigation were to be filed, there needs to be certain procedural process to stop the board's action, and that may take a while to be implemented.
Okay, thank you.
These are issues that we're going to need to ferret through. I first want to hear from Arden about whether that's going to be a real problem or not, before we spend a lot of resources in preserving the right. I think it's a fairness issue. People want to know if we've submitted an application and time runs out and there's no other factor indicating that there's bad will or something going on with the application, that people preserve the right. They don't run out of time and lose their water right and have reversion of their carryover, for example.
The fault in that scenario would be on us. It wouldn't be punitive towards the people that have the water rights. Okay.
Okay. We're good.
This is Arden. I agree that I think providing some flexibility both for us to do our analysis, for example, if we need more information or, get a lot of applications at once and want to make sure we have time to do our due diligence. And also note that there could be delays on the side of the public meetings, and if the advisory committee or the board need more information before they can make a decision on the application, I think providing that flexibility would be valuable.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Wendy. Anything else on that? We're going to ask for more comment, but do you want to clarify any more on that issue?
And we're going to get comments on it. We need to think about what the issues are. I think there's very definitely the chance that we're going to need to address this, that there's going to be, I could be wrong, but I think there's going to be a lot of applications. And the material injury analysis, at least on some percentage of them, is likely to occur. if Arden's office is overwhelmed in terms of the timing of getting a material injury determination made, we need to have protection for people that are operating in good faith.
Right.
Who've got their application in.
And that's how this board has operated since the very beginning.
Yeah,
So this is not a stretch at all.
Right.
We've always operated in good faith to the public for their needs. So, okay. More comments? Holly? Dan? Hi, Stan. You there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Stan.
So I did have a comment. I thought Wendy's presentation was helpful, but it still left me with a question. I think we touched on the language of concern already in their April 8th letter on page 2, talking about carryover storage agreements being subject to a different set of uniform rules. And it sounds like maybe some consensus is forming that uniform rules for all carryover water might be acceptable. But I just want to recall in Waterworks District 40's earlier letter of December 11th, 2025, on page 2, it has a heading saying, the physical solution permits a separate template agreement for public water suppliers. And I'm not sure if that's still Waterworks District 40's position, but that seems inconsistent with what we've talked about today. And further, also in that letter, there's another heading on page 3, unique considerations for material injury analysis for public water suppliers. It has some bullet points in it talking about language that Waterworks District wanted to have included in the storage agreement. And we haven't seen any language to put that into specific storage agreement provisions. And so I guess I'm wondering, are those does Waterworks District still want those provisions in there? And if so, who's going to draft them and when can we see them? So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. And we have Wendy here, so we will have her address it for Waterworks.
Thank you for this opportunity again to address that comment. We're not going back to the prior comment letter. Our comment letter sent on April 8th is meant to address all of our comments to the March version of the template. And so we're not trying to reinsert those prior comments we had before.
Great.
So it's a modification of your previous opinion, right?
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Stan. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that was a helpful response. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Further comments? Okay. So, board comment.
I'm gonna make one more comment. The advisory committee agreed, I think unanimously, that they would ask the board to table this till next month. I think if that would be considered by the board, we'd have to have, I would urge that we have something specific about what we're to discuss if it's tabled a month. We have some language. Is there language being proposed that we need to consider in the next month and get approval of at the May meeting after we hear public input?
I support that.
So, Chairperson, I think,
Carolina, go ahead.
thank you. I think we've heard quite a lot, and I don't know if it would, if we can reach consensus, but I'd love to allow for council to, consider some of the discussion that happened today and the letters that have been addressed, and maybe propose something, another memo, before our May meeting, for consideration for possible adoption at that time. What do others think?
Agreed.
I agree. We have consensus. And Craig, you had, in answering Angelica's question, you kind of had a recommendation. So you've heard all the public comment now. It seems that we can reach consensus.
And there may be, I think there is value in circulating as soon as possible, my office, further red line of the template agreement. It's just, I mean, we appear to be so close in agreement after months of going at it on different issues that I'd hate to lose the momentum. I'd like to keep the meeting, the public meeting in May. There can be discussion about the template then, but we can hear from the public if there's going to be any more comment.
And that's the idea of a public meeting is we want to hear, and maybe we need to make changes, maybe we don't, but we should have something in front of them that we're pretty close to consensus.
Right. Let me ask, I think Cameron's on the line. He's worked a lot on the language of this. Cameron, if you're on the phone, do you suggest anything more specific that we could do to expedite final approval at the May meeting?
No, I think this has been really helpful to hear the feedback from various council and the board. And I think that we can generate a new red line compared to what is before the board today and have that sent out in a notice of public hearing. And, you know, that will be on the table for potential adoption in May if there's a consensus at that time.
And Craig, can you just repeat what you were, where you were moving towards, where that red line will be?
Yeah, the likely area that I think is got the most concern that I see is being a couple of sentences in recital A that may be subject to being eliminated, the last two sentences on that, but keep the language with respect to the agreement is understood to be in compliance with 18.5.14. There may be a couple of sentences that can be edited out, and then want to rethink this issue of what can we do, if anything, in the storage agreement to preserve their rights to get their agreement considered if it doesn't get done before the end of this year. Those are the two main issues that I saw that we should address.
Okay. And I think we have consensus on that.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
For a 2-minute break real quick.
You can take a 3-minute break, Brandon. Go ahead. We're going to take a 3-minute break. I think we're wrapping up this part of it. good discussion, everyone. And that brings us, Angel, to just set a date for public hearing.
No, actually, we still need to go over items E, F, and G, and H, and Arden will go through those items.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Arden.
Hi. For items E, we included a draft 2026 annual production form in the packet that is on page 110. And really the main difference that you can see there is now, previously there was a line under where parties could submit their annual production where they listed how much of the production is the recovery of stored water. And we included another line, which is how much of the production is the recovery of stored carryover water. I will note that often when we're doing the accounting for the parties who have stored water, there's sometimes additional documentation or conversations that go on behind the scene just to make sure that the use of stored water is attributed to the appropriate facility. And so we work with the Antelope Valley State Water Contractors Association. But this is for the annual production form. And if there were confusion about where the stored water is being used from, we can follow up with the parties individually. Are there any questions about this form?
Any questions, board? Any questions,
Nope.
public? No, Arden, go ahead.
Thank you. And then item F is a draft application for carryover water converted to stored water. And so this is the form that parties would fill out. There's some items including information about their wells and various pumping capacity information of the wells, which we understand that a lot of these wells were drilled a long time ago. Sometimes well completion reports do get lost. So that is if the information is available, parties are requested to fill that out. We also note that items like the material injury information, the planned use, if a material injury analysis is not required for the application, if they don't know what that planned use is, then they can fill out the application and there would not be an associated material injury analysis. Are there any questions about this form?
Nope.
Nope. Public? Doesn't look like it. Go ahead, Arden.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a brief presentation about the carryover storage agreement fee categories that I can share. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Then 1 second, I will get this up and booted. All right, can y'all see this well?
Yep.
Yeah, you can close all of the things to make it
Oh,
bigger.
yes. Is that good?
You can just minimize it if you can. If not, it's fine. Arden, your Zoom participants.
Let me. What about now?
No.
No?
It's fine.
Oh, I see. I see. How about now?
Like I'm on Verizon.
I think that little X next to participants, if you just click that X, it'll close that box.
I'm not seeing a participants window on the virtual side.
Do you have two screens? Do you have two screens? Maybe it's on it.
Holly, is it your participant list?
It's that one. Ha, it's me. Thank you.
Arden.
All good?
All good.
It's good.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So we really took a step back and thought through what is our process, both for the fee recommendations and also really thinking about what is our process going to be when we receive these applications and how do we categorize them as far as what do we need to do for the material injury analysis and how much work is it going to be. So from a high level, when thinking through how do we want to have these fee recommendations, we first thought through what are the different application scenarios. We then determined a rough level of effort for each material injury analysis, and we broke these down into different application categories. And we included in the packet, there's a flow chart that sort of shows a decision tree. Is there material injury information? Where is the well located? And it's a pretty complicated flow chart that has, I think, 11 or 12 different categories. And then we grouped these into broader fee categories. And so our goal is to just have transparency in this process. So there is transparency in the fees, and we're open to feedback with this. For this step, we've just identified the broader fee categories. We haven't yet dove in and developed recommendations for the actual fees. We wanted to make sure we were on the right track before we started to assign dollar amounts to the fees. So I'm going to walk through some of the questions that we think are important to consider for each application that help us understand what is the level of effort to do the material injury analysis, and then what should the appropriate fees be. So the first one is the material information and is the material injury information provided? This is going to determine if we can do the analysis and if it's really just a processing fee or a fee to cover the material injury analysis. Another question, is this a sensitive subarea? We note that the Central and the Rogers Lake subareas do require a subsidence analysis and making sure that it's not in an area with potential subsidence. Another question is the proposed production the total amount of water that's used when stored water is being used? Is that more than the sum of the parties' production right plus their imported water return flows? And that would be the average imported water return flows over the past 10 years. And so when thinking through, we wanted to have an easy way to flag the applications that might represent an overall increase in production. This would signal if the use of stored water is going to lead to elevated production rates. If the proposed production is within 10 acre feet per year of the combined production right and average imported water return flow, we consider this to be a lower risk application. Another question is the anticipated date of stored water production known? And this is something that I know we've discussed a lot, but it does affect how we do the material injury analysis. So if we know when the proposed use of the water is, and it's relatively soon, we can conduct a drawdown risk analysis that can be analyzed with nearby water levels. What are the water levels recently, and how might drawdown from increased pumping at this well impact them? If we don't know what the anticipated date is, we do need to be a bit more conservative and assume that local wells will be producing their production rights potentially. And so one potential solution for addressing that uncertainty is to have mitigation criteria. An example of this is if nearby water levels get to a certain level, that determines if the production of stored water from this well could potentially cause material injury. So we would be looking at are there local monitoring wells nearby? What are the water levels? And is there a certain water level where as long as those monitoring wells show that water levels are staying above this threshold, it's unlikely to have a risk of material injury for production from the proposed wells. So once again, I referenced in the packet, we have the complicated flow chart, but we then clumped those different types of applications into a few larger fee categories based on the level of effort. The first one would be if no material injury analysis is required, there would be a processing fee. If there's pumping at or near, which is within 10 acre feet per year of the combined production right and imported water return flows in any sub area, then that would be another fee category. With a little bit more material injury analysis required, if you've got more than 10 acre feet per year above that combined production right and imported water return flow, and you know what the timing is going to be, and it's not in a sensitive sub area, so it's not in the Central or Rogers Lake sub areas, then that's another fee category. The fourth category would be similar, but it is in the Central or Rogers Lake sub areas. And then the fifth category would be time and materials. There's a lot of uncertainty in this category, and this is either if production is more than 100 acre feet per year, and or if it's more than 10 and the timing is unknown. And so we recommend time and materials for that, just because there is a lot of uncertainty in what might go into that analysis and how complicated will it be. We also note that, if a particular application comes in and it has a high level of uncertainty, then it may become a time and material application if it seems like the level of effort will be much higher than what is covered by the fee for the category. And then I just want to note a few limitations for this. So this material injury analysis process isn't going to prevent parties who are trying to game the system a little bit by using stored water first at a low rate to, use up the older stored water that requires a material injury analysis. So then they can then build up active carryover water or younger carryover water in order to produce it at a higher rate without oversight or material injury analysis. Because parties can use their stored water really at any time, this is a risk that is factored in, that right now we don't really have a way to prevent this. And I'll note that some areas in the basin have less monitoring information available and less geologic data than other areas. And so there might not be nearby monitoring level data or other data available if we do feel it's appropriate to develop mitigation criteria. So once again, would love to discuss this and incorporate any feedback. And after that, then we can work through recommending fees, which we expect would be similar in the level of effort and fees to transfer or a new point of extraction applications. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board? Any questions, public?
Questions?
No questions, Arden?
Thank you.
And now are we ready to set a date for public hearing? Angel.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And what date do you propose for our public hearing?
That would be our next meeting, May 27th, 2026.
May 27th, next meeting.
At 10 o'clock a.m.
Everybody okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you need action to set the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Motion to set the public hearing for May 27th, 2006.
2026?
2026, thank you. We need help. 2026.
I move to approve.
Kathy has moved to set the date for the public hearing to consider and possible action. Well, no, that's going to be just to go over the
She set the motion to set the public hearing.
okay. Section made, second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to set the public hearing for May 28th, 2020, May 27th, 2026. I'm having trouble with this. Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Takes us to item 13, update on enforcement plan and cost estimate. And that's going to be Craig.
We are in the process of developing a list of people who owe the Watermaster assessment payments. We'll get into detail in closed session about names. I don't want to do that now. I just wanted the public to know we take it seriously. We are looked into prioritizing our resources to go for the enforcement issues with people that are substantially out of compliance. We will do that the most cost-effective way we can. And it'll be a budget item at some point as to what we predict will be the cost to do it. But the board has been, I'll just say personally, the board has been very clear about enforcing the judgment and our need to do that and take it seriously. And we do, and we'll be talking about it in closed session. Specific names that we.
And Craig, can you just publicly let everyone know what your record is for enforcing the judgment on actions that we've taken?
I'm not aware of a loss on that. Yeah, what is encouraging is that the board is very doggedly determined to get compliance with the judgment, especially when compliance is being, I'll use the word flaunted by a minority of people that need to be brought into an understanding that they are part of the judgment, and we will move against them. So we'll discuss that in closed session.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Any comments by the board? All right.
Rob, can we go back to item 12 real quick? We did have consideration and possible action for the recovery application template as well. So I was wondering, do you guys want to take action on the draft 2026 annual production reporting form and the draft application for carryover water converted to stored water, or would you like us to put that on the next agenda?
Why don't you put off for the next agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I recommend you put that over.
So we can see the whole package.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on item 14, consideration possible action on new production application. And Arden, you get to come back.
Thank you. So we have quite a few applications this month. And so I will try to summarize them promptly. So the first application is for Maria Herrera, and she's requesting 0.5 acre feet per year in the central Antelope subarea. And this is for a single family home with several fruit trees. And it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee, and the potential for material injury was determined to be negligible. Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions from the public? Is there a motion to approve resolution R2620? Moved by Carolina,
Yeah.
second by Angelica. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. On item B, go ahead, Arden.
Thank you. So this is for Pedro Martinez. He's proposing to use 3 acre feet per year This is for a single-family home with a pool and spa and some fruit trees. It's in the Central Antelope sub-area, but really on the boundary to the west with the West Antelope sub-area. We found the potential for material injury to be negligible, and it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee. Any questions?
Any questions? Public? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution R2621? Motion made by Angelica, second by Brandon. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're on item C.
Thank you. So this is a new production application for Arturo Tapia requesting 2 acre-feet per year for a single-family home with an ADU, about 2,000 square feet of landscaping and some fruit trees in the Central Antelope sub-area. Material injury was found to be negligible, and it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee. Any questions?
Arden, any questions? No questions? Public? None? Is there a motion to approve resolution R2622?
I move.
Motion made by Carolina. Second by Angelica. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R2622, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We're on item 15, consideration possible action, new point of extraction applications.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Arden.
Oh, thanks. So this is a new point of extraction application for U.S. Solar Assets, LLC. They're an Exhibit 4 party. This well and their other wells are in the West Antelope sub-area. And this is a new well that would provide water for domestic use to staff in a solar facility operation building. The estimated annual use of this well is 0.19 acre-feet per year. We found the risk of material injury to be negligible, and it was unanimously recommended for approval by the advisory committee. Any questions?
Any questions? Hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve resolution R2623?
So moved.
Motion made by Kathy. Second by Brandon. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R2623, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. We're on item 16, consideration possible action on transfer application. Arden.
Thank you. So this first application is a transfer from Burroughs 300 A40H, which is an Exhibit 4 party in the West Antelope sub-area, to 45 MG 8ME LLC, which would a party that would need to intervene, and it's for 1 acre-foot per year of permanent production right and 250 acre-feet of one-time water. And so I am going to provide a little bit of more in-depth detail about this application because it is pretty complicated. And I'll note that the well that 45MG is planning to produce from is the same well that 40AA has been producing from in the Rogers Lake sub-area for the Aratina solar project. And so this would be for the project Aratina 2. And the advisory committee wanted to make sure that the board was reminded that this is a project that has been discussed previously in Watermaster meetings when there was a gentleman producing water in Mojave Basin who came and expressed concern about production for the Aratina project lowering his water levels, but that production was not in the Antelope sub-area. Within the Antelope sub-area, a new point of extraction application was approved in 2024 for the party 40AA who had received a transfer from Burroughs to pump water for dust control for the Aratina solar project. They have been in compliance with the Watermaster, and 48A produced 60.2 acre feet per year from this well in 2025 and has submitted all of their metering reports to the Watermaster. And then counsel for 45MG confirmed in emails attached to the application that peak production for 45MG would occur after peak production from 40AA. So this isn't a situation where there would be cumulative impacts of pumping that are higher than for either party. So they're proposing to produce from this refurbished well in Rogers Lake sub-area about 138 gallons per minute over 10 months, pumping about 20 days a month. And so this averages out to about 88 gallons per minute. They're also importing water from AVEC to support dust control. So given that this is an application that has received, it's an area that has received a lot of attention, and in the Rogers Lake sub-area, there's less water flowing in and out of the sub-area, and it's not a particularly transmissive aquifer, meaning that water doesn't flow through it as easily than in other parts of the basin. I wanted to make sure that we evaluated this with quite a bit of detail. And so in the letter, we include distance drawdown analyses to estimate the impacts of the pumping. The closest party is, there's a group of small pumpers about 1 mile north of the proposed well for 45MG. So we're looking at the impacts of pumping about a mile away. And there's also not that much information about, how confined is the aquifer and the geology of this area. We do have information from a well test that was done at the refurbished well that 45MG is planning to pump from, which is very helpful. So we ran 3 different scenarios, assuming 3 different aquifer conditions. Both if the aquifer is unconfined, semi-confined, and confined, the way that drawdown behaves is different depending on the aquifer properties. And so the first scenario was if you're pumping for 85 gallons per minute for a year, that's just looking at 45MG's pumping. The second one was pumping at 85 gallons per minute for 2 years. That's looking at the cumulative impacts of 40AA pumping from this well and 45MG pumping from this well. And then scenario 3 was looking at if you're just pumping no breaks, 130 gallons per minute from the well, which is, not what is proposed to do, but a very conservative scenario. We found in most likely semi-confined aquifer conditions with the 2 years of pumping at 85, the drawdown a mile away would be about 12 feet. In the most conservative scenario, the pumping 130 gallons per minute nonstop for a year, very confined conditions, drawdown would be about 24 feet a mile away. Most wells in the area are 400 to 500 feet deep, and the water level is about 240 feet below ground surface. So this would not cause material injury about a mile away. And so given that the proposed production is less than a year, the closest party is over a mile away, and drawdown is unlikely to impact the ability to produce water. Even under conservative scenarios, the risk of material injury is low. And we note that 45MG would need to intervene, and the advisory committee unanimously recommended this application for approval. Any questions?
Any questions, board?
Move to approve.
Any questions, public? None. Okay, we have a motion by Brandon to approve resolution R 2624, seconded by Kathy. Is there any discussion and great analysis on that, Arden? And that was very helpful for us.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve resolution R 2624, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We're on item B, R 2625.
There's one more transfer. Oh, yes, here it is. Okay, thanks. This transfer is for John and Adrian Rica to Mettler Valley Mutual Water Company. Last year, there was a similar transfer, and this is for 44.55 acre feet of a one-time transfer to cover the replacement water obligations from Mettler Valley Mutual Water Company. The water levels, we included hydrographs in this and want to note that the water levels closest to Mettler Valley Mutual Water Company have seen a sharp increase over the last few years. And I'll discuss those water levels a little bit more in the Watermaster Engineer update. And so we found the risk of material injury to be negligible, and the advisory committee unanimously recommended this application for approval. Any questions?
Any questions, board? Any questions, public? Is there a motion? And Alec moves to approve resolution R 2625. Second by Brandon. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried unanimously.
Chair Paris, I have to excuse myself. Would it be okay if I make a quick statement before I excuse myself?
Absolutely, Brandon, go ahead.
Miss Adrian Ruck is going to come cover. I just want to speak really quick on the two landowner seats. We have such a phenomenal team with Derek Urosic, who I've known for half my life, man of integrity and honesty that trust implicitly. And Elika Martin, I have known her professionalism and honesty just speaks for herself. Known Adrian Rucka for my entire life, her and her husband, John, unmatched with their honesty and integrity. So as I sit here, I'm going to tender my resignation as a board member and to turn it over to Elika Martin. It has been an honor to serve on this board. Thank you.
Brandon, you've been a fantastic board member, and we appreciate the service of your father before you and you. And thank you for all you've done for this board and this community. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Welcome.
The women are taking over.
My gosh.
Chair Parrish, you're okay.
It's okay.
I'll calm down.
Us women do it all the time. With the men.
Okay, update on administrative activities. Angel.
Thanks, Rob. Holly, can you go to the next slide, please? So administrative staff is currently working on preparing and mailing the replacement water assessments and the variable invoices. In May, we plan to contact the city of Palmdale to assist with the landowner representative elections for the inspector of elections. We've actually reached out to them a little early and we're still waiting for a contact there. So hopefully we have an inspector of elections when that time comes. And just a reminder, Arden Wells plans to attend the board meeting in person next month, and it is picture day. So if you can dress your best. And then June is when we will send out the nomination request for the landowner representative. And that's all I have to report.
Excuse me. And that brings us to the engineer's report. Arden, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, round two, sharing my screen. Cross your fingers.
It's all good.
And how is it?
Looks good, Arden.
Success. Okay, excellent. So our summary of new production in qualified small pumpers. Last month, we approved 1.7 acre feet per year of new production. And then following Long Valley Road, Bothing Treeland Farm becoming an Exhibit 4 party, they have rescinded their new production. So there's a decrease of 300 acre feet per year of new production. Any questions on this?
No.
No questions
Hearing
are,
none? All right. A brief summary of the Sub-Area Management Committee. I'm not going to go through the whole slides. We had a great discussion in the advisory committee meeting. All of the information is in the board packet. And there's a summary of what we discussed. We had a review of the permanent and one-time transfers between the sub-areas over time. A summary of site-specific spring 2026 water levels. So we went through a few areas that have been discussed over the last couple years and seeing how the water levels have changed in the past year since the USGS just completed their spring water level survey. And then we have the annual report in the works, but a reminder that in our water balance section in the annual report, we break down the flows coming into and out of each sub-area in that section. I'm not going to go through all of the water level updates, but I did just want to highlight a really positive shift that we've seen. This is in the West Antelope sub-area. There was a USGS monitoring well that we had seen drop over 60 feet in the past 15, 20 years or so. And we weren't quite sure a couple years ago what was going on. We could not identify specific producers with a production right in that area who were pumping at high rates, and we're concerned that it was an issue of illegal pumping. And became pretty sure that that might be the reason why water levels were dropping so much in this area. I don't want to name names, but I do want to just commend Watermaster Council and admin staff and the board for really working on enforcement. There has been an increase in water levels in this area. From 2024 to 2025, water levels were relatively stable for the first time. And from 2025 to 2026, water levels increased by 8 feet. And the Watermaster engineer team does believe that this is due to a decrease in illegal pumping from enforcement activities. Any questions on this?
No, that's good news.
I agree. We included in the board packet our pre-approved meters and installers list, and just want to bring to the board's attention that we were contacted by a party saying that they couldn't get an approved installer. The companies listed were either unavailable or did not respond when contacted. Every now and then this issue does pop up, and I want to put it on the forefront of everyone's minds. If you know anyone or have recommendations of businesses or folks that we could reach out to, we're always looking for more interested folks to get on that pre-approved installer list. Are there any questions or recommendations for this?
no,
No? All right, keep that in mind. An update on our annual report timeline. So we've received data from almost all of the agencies and are now plugging away, coordinating all of that data to begin our groundwater conditions analysis. We will be posting the big table that shows carryover availability and water accounting by May 1st. So thank you to everyone who has gotten their production reports into Angel. And then the results presentations begin in the May board meeting. This will be in person. As Angel noted, it is picture day. And I also wanted to recommend that I have my colleague Edward Potts join me. Maureen will be on vacation this month, and Ed has really been working really hard in the background in the Watermaster engineer team, He has been managing a lot of the applications for the initial reviews and analyses, and writing and doing the analyses for the annual report. And I think it would be excellent for him to come meet everyone, get to see the Watermaster meetings in person, and better understand the basin. And we do have budget for an additional person to join me in the meeting. So I want to confirm that having an additional engineer staff join for May would be okay.
I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking yes. So yes, we'd love to. And it's in the budget. So we'd love to meet him and bring him and, like Angel said, tell him to dress his best.
I'll make sure of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then looking ahead, we are aiming to have that draft on June 8th. And on a little personal note, I will be leaving for a few weeks after June 8th. I'm getting married and going on my honeymoon. So Maureen and Ed will be handling the June meeting presentation of the annual report.
Where can we contact you?
Everything goes through Maureen and Ed. I will be relaxing and not thinking so much about water balances.
Outstanding, Arden. Congratulations.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
We do want to
We
see
will not let
pictures.
Craig call you.
Thanks.
Suffice.
Yeah.
I'll try to have pictures of Arden's wedding in the presentation.
Way to go, Maureen.
You have to send me some pictures, Arden.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks.
Great report. Where are we?
And our last bit is just the reporting app update, which we're going to be reaching out to parties that could be good trial users, and we can be available to talk with them in person in May to introduce the app and do some light troubleshooting. So with that sums up the engineer report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now we're on the general counsel's report.
Yes, most of that is covered in a closed session. I just wanted to mention, we are also enforcing the judgment as to new production applicants that have not complied with the terms of new production status. So that should have been part of the enforcement discussion, but I wanted people to know we're moving forward on that and revoking their production right.
Great.
The only other thing is Aqua has a meeting next month in Sacramento. They asked about if I would do an interview with them about the issues with the Antelope Valley adjudication. And I agreed to do it. I won't say anything too controversial. I'll be sure.
So is this to do an interview, or are you going to be on a panel, or?
It's a panel with another Watermaster General Counsel, two others actually.
Great. It's part of the legal MCLE and.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of lawyers hanging around you, right?
Yeah.
We'll have to go watch that one.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to go viral, and there's a whole group of people that are.
You may get royalties on it, and you won't be coming to our meetings.
Yeah. Can be contacted.
Great.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay. So that brings us to members' requests for future agenda items. Anything? None. And that brings us to closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So move. Well, second.
Actually, Angelica said it first, so she gets the motion. You said it second, so you get the second. Motion by Angelica, second by Kathy to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Let's try to get in there around 5 minutes till 12.
Sounds good.
7-minute break. Doesn't comply with wage and
Recording stopped.